So I am Orrin, Go Installations, company director.
A good place to start is always what was life like before Business Pilot, so that'd be interesting. So for you guys, what was happening before Business Pilot?
It was hectic.
Yeah.
Lots of bits of paper stuck on the desk. And for not being overly computer literate, anyway, I was always a bit scared of IT. So
yeah,
we performed okay for a number of years, 20 years, but it was just spinning the plates like properly all the time. It was relentless. It was 12, 14-hour days.
Yeah.
Just to get through the day, ready for the next day, to be fair.
And I think that can almost be the danger thing, can't it? We see so many people who they are doing okay. There's no sort of saying to them, by the way, you'll either have a terrible business if you don't use something like this, or a fantastic one if you do. It's not that black and white. There are enough installation companies out there, and they are not, I was going to use the word surviving. It's not even surviving. They're doing well. They're doing well. But it often comes at this cost of, like you've just said, long days and things sort of falling. So I'm guessing you were the whiteboard or T card, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, we'd slightly gone on to an Outlook calendar. We'd moved on. But yeah, it was originally whiteboard. Yeah.
So
T card, I just couldn't go there. To be fair, that was a step too far.
Yeah, well, so. And again, I remember when we were first sort of setting this up, and our whole thing was about how will we get other people's data from their systems over into Business Pilot, and more about how do we export it out of these other systems. And we thought that was going to be a big challenge for us. In reality, what we found is so many people didn't have data. They've got it, but in paper files and so on,
Right.
So actually very few had like other databases they were coming from. So
we were keen, Elton, to get our data. We have got all the data on a spreadsheet, but
yes,
and part of this was going to be the challenge to get our data onto the system. But as it evolved, we just decided that it wasn't really necessary, because each time a service call or something comes in, we just add it to the contract list, and it seems the way it's evolved, and it works for us. So I wouldn't get hung up on having to get all the data across.
That's really good advice off the bat. We say that as well. For some people, they must have their data over, and actually, if you've got a whole load of stuff happening, I do understand it, and it is good when all the information's in.
Yeah,
but it shouldn't stop you from moving ahead. That's for sure. I don't think you need it all in. It's a nice to have.
Yeah, our plan was to always go back, but the data needed cleaning up. There was a lot.
Yeah,
and I think life's busy enough. Just crack on with what we came to the conclusion of, really.
I joined the business from an IT background and have a reasonable amount of experience in not only in IT but mainly in databases as it happened. I've been involved with CRM solutions and back-end solutions for some years.
Yeah.
So although I knew nothing about the Windows and double glazing industry. So so it was interesting we sort of internally put our heads together. But one of the things I always found was, if you try to amend a system to work the way that you want to work, then you just tend to hit problem after problem. So my advice to anybody would be, embrace the system in the way it's designed to work and use it in the way it's designed to work. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting it all the time. So we made a decision up front that we would change the way we work to work the way the process that Business Pilot was designed to work.
So so it's really interesting because and this is what's fascinating for me. Everybody's doing a different thing. There's a common thread that all installation companies have. Let's say 80-20 rule again, and 80% of it is actually going to be the same. But there's this other 20% that's actually very, very different in how they do it. So. And how they approach Business Pilot's exactly the same as well. So, like you've just said, actually, look, this has been built for installers, by installers, all that stuff that we say. So it kind of follows a logical process, and it does allow you to sort of come in, and it's almost got a bit of, I suppose, best practice built in, whatever you want to, whatever marketing words we'd use. But there is a process to it. However, I was speaking to a guy last week, and he was saying in his video, like these videos, and he's saying what he's really liked is how he's completely configured it around how he works. And you can do that. But I think, like with the data as well, you can bring in every bit of data. You absolutely can. You can configure Business Pilot around how you work. You absolutely can. But actually, and I think this is what you guys are saying, there comes a point when it's like, well, hold on, it's already built a certain way. Yeah. And actually, you don't need that data in it. So it's really about how much of a pain barrier do we really need to go? What's the benefits of that that extra pain, I guess, with any system? So, okay, so you guys obviously came on board. You've got business in. I wonder what some of the features are that you're really sort of, I suppose, seeing the benefit from. So let's talk through some of that side of it. What are the areas that you just think, this has been a game changer to me? This is really useful.
For me, Elton, it's fundamentally having every bit of data that we do in one place. The thought of going back to searching through different spreadsheets, emails, trying to find documents. It's, and I thought we had a reasonably smooth system built by Ray. Yeah. But it became apparent quite quick that it just works for us. It's just, everything being in one. For me, that's what really is being the game changer. Just if anyone rings in, anyone in this office can pick the phone up, go to the file, and just everything's on there. The service calls, all the documents, all the contracts, everything is in one place. To me, that's been the most important thing.
Yeah,
so and we weren't in the dark age by any means. We were 365 for some time, and we've been using SharePoint Online as our document repository and standard Office documentation, documents and applications to effectively run the business, but. It's a big step to jump into a CRM solution and invest in that for any business. I would say that from a value for money point of view as well, Business Pilot ticks the box there and makes it quite cost effective to very quickly get up and running. And that's simply because it's an off the shelf product, isn't it? Because if you want,
correct,
you're spending. I've had quotes in excess of £1 million on some projects I've worked on just to make some changes to a database that is going to change again the minute a manager somewhere decides he doesn't like something. So it simplifies it.
And I think that's the key, isn't it? If you look at what we will have spent on this system, well, it's certainly in excess of £1 million. A lot more than £1 million, but that's shared between all of us. Yeah. That's the thing. There's hundreds of companies all sharing that, really. And that's what makes it cost effective. That's the beauty of it. And, and also that feedback is coming from so many different installers now as well. You will have seen that, I'm sure, over time, how we're always bringing out new updates. Well, those updates are driven by people just like you. It's the other installers. That's what's driving all of that. People who say, I need this or I need that. And I remember, you guys talking about what you had in place. I remember you guys coming on board. I thought it was a lot longer than a year ago, to be fair, but I remember you guys coming on board because, Ray, you had requirements in there because you understood the technology. A lot of these installation companies have no idea, so okay. I think then in terms of the system, to me is one side of it, but what's very important to me is the people side of it. I've always said we are our mission, if you like, our vision. It's not around creating a bit of software. That's just one of the things we happen to do. It's all around helping the installer. So that then brings me on to the team of people at Business Pilot. And I think, especially with software, I think you really notice that, most IT stroke software people, they're the first to hide behind emails or, just almost put up the brick walls. What's been your experience of working with, some of our team?
I'll pass that over to Ray because I generally don't deal with I pass the buck on that, Elton. Sorry, yes.
No worries.
To be fair, we don't actually have a huge amount of interaction because it's reasonably solid as a product, of course. So, but when I do, it's either I tend to just use the quick support button on the bottom right, unless it's urgent, in which case when I pick up the phone, it's a mixed bag, if I'm honest. Sometimes, I recognize that you're a relatively small organization. You can't have 20 people there waiting for Ray to call. So, but the responses back are quick enough. So I think support, I've made a note as I was thinking about today's conversation. I would say that the support model has improved.
Yeah.
And I think with the different personnel we're dealing with, seem to have a better grip, if you like, on expectations. Overall, very positive.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. Like for me, in when I'm asking these questions and the responses, there's so much in there. Like you were saying about the support button in the bottom right of the screen. Again, having that was really important for us to put it in there as essentially live chat is what it is. It's just a live chat system, but built into the system means that when people use that live chat, we get all the information about what page you're on, what's loaded. It gives us so much because we're within any system. The classic is I can't load contracts, let's say. What does that mean? Where are you? I don't know. It won't load. And we're sat there thinking we really want to help, but what screen were you on? What were you doing? So having that live chat, which obviously gives us then a whole load of analytics as well as the question, was really important to us. But at the same time, when that came in, the question internally was, so does this now mean we get rid of the support line? I'm like, well, no, of course it doesn't. Some people will want to phone. Some people will want to use the chat. Others will want to send an email. And actually, we just need to be responsive to whatever way that user wants to connect with us, not dictate.
I had to call the other day because it was, I needed to get a new user on the system. And unfortunately, because we use contractors and he'd actually worked for two other businesses that used Business Pilot.
Wow.
So as a result of
good in one sense,
it is, but because the usernames, I found a flaw in it, and as far as the usernames are centralized, so therefore, if someone else has grabbed it, it stops me being able to get. And it actually did stop me getting Lloyd onto the system.
So it obviously, this must be his email address, obviously.
Yeah.
And he's using his own rather than a Go Installations one.
That's right, because he is a contractor.
Yeah.
We didn't want to incur costs just for the response was, well, we recommend a Go Installations account, but obviously that comes with a cost. So, which we don't really need to do.
Yes. So these are really good.
My point there, actually, sorry to interrupt, but my point there was that when I went onto the web page to get the support number up top right, it's on the first screen top right, and I did ask myself, I wonder how long it is before they remove that from the top right.
Never. but actually the answer is never, because it's more important for me. And like you've just said with that, actually these are problems that are they come up with growth. For somebody now to have been with a few, I mean, clearly he likes traveling around, but, take that to one side. Actually, that's now because Business Pilot is being used in so many places. We're going to come up against it more and more. So actually, that's really good feedback for us to have so that can go on our ideas board. And okay, they're trying to come up with a solution to fix it today, which is a Go Installations email, which isn't the way you want to go. But actually, it goes on the ideas board to say, actually, as we move into the future, this is going to come up again.
Will do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
It'll come up again because
It's quite an infectious business, of course. So, and people do move around from business to business and
Yeah.
work from multiple businesses actually as well.
yeah. So no, good. And we track like the response times. So I have stats every month on our support in terms of whether it was dealt with on the call, whether it took 0 to 3 hours, 3 to 5, all those things. Because I'm very aware it's the old Peter Parker thing. It's Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility, and you said it there. Your whole business is on Business Pilot. Well, that gives us a hell of a responsibility to make sure that we are there and making sure that your business can run.
Having read your disaster recovery document, I've got some experience with Azure. I can see exactly what that I could almost make up the structure of
What was happening?
Azure environment and your SQL environment, but
yeah. So,
but that isn't, and I know from my experience that is robust and replicated across multiple data centers. Do you actually use available instances out of interest, where you have additional instances fired up automatically?
Yeah. So for anybody else watching, Ray, we're going to have to cut all of this bit out because they're going to just want to go to sleep. But essentially, just to satisfy that curiosity, essentially it does exactly that, and not just that, it fires up at different times of the day.
Yeah.
So you can imagine between sort of 7 and 10 a.m. we need a lot more instance basically firing up. So that's exactly it. One question I'd like to ask is, if you were to pinpoint one particular feature now, not as in what was really good is the fact that it's all in one place.
Yeah.
That absolutely, and that should be a feature in itself. But if I think now of things like schedule board or BP mail or status progressions, or you could say MI, I suppose, or whatever. But if I pick out one individual feature of it, what would you say has been the most instrumental for you guys?
Can I start?
Yeah.
Do you know what's the simple one? Invoicing.
That's what I was
really.
We outsourced the invoicing before, so we had to.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just a simple thing, but the accountant did also. We would, attaching our requirements to an email with the contract attached to say that this one now needs invoicing.
Yeah.
She would, send the invoice back, and it'd be wrong. So then we'd be emailing back to say, and that not only saves us masses of time, but it gets me in control of my finances, and the reports behind that. Report which I would say we don't use enough yet, but our debtors list, for example, we didn't have one before. I'd have I'd have to go through the paper folder of the contracts and see who I thought had paid or not.
Right.
When you're busy,
it's massive.
Yes, that to me, apart from it all being in one place now, and much more manageable as a system. The invoicing now we have control on, and we are slick can be as getting those invoices out now.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can be owed tens of thousands of pounds.
I was going to say it has a massive impact then on cash flow.
Yeah.
It really does. So, and are you using it for all like the purchase orders and so on? Do you follow all of the finances through?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Well,
actually, to be fair, that's the end goal.
Yeah.
I think that's where I hit a bit of a barrier with some of our users, not necessarily seeing the benefit of going in and putting the information up front.
Yeah.
The story is, as Graham's alluded to, is that if it's not on, we have a phrase in house that says if it's not on BP, it didn't happen. It's basically that is the if you like the center of truth, if you like, of what's going on.
Yeah.
But there are some exceptions, and purchase orders, they're on. Some of us do them, some don't. And because we don't put the values in there, I can't really report on what the true margin is, for example. The job, which is the goal.
Yeah.
But we've moved forward so far in such a short time. I'm sure we'll get there, but it's just next on the list almost.
Yeah. And I think that's really important for people to hear as well, because I love it when people say, oh, we dived both feet in and we appointed this person to internally, that's all great and it's exciting. But actually the reality for most people is that they are using it for what was their biggest pain point, getting comfortable with that and then growing out from there. And in fact, that would be my advice. I'll ask you to give your advice to new people in a minute, but mine has actually always been about just take on the bits you can and then grow into it. So it's good actually to be talking to you guys at a point where you're sort of halfway, where you've said, actually, we've put in so much in such a short space of time, but we've still got some more bits to put in as well. Because I think actually most businesses will always be in a position of that, because by the time you've put it all in, there'll be some new things that Business Pilot's doing. So hopefully there's always more for you to grow into. And, the fact that all of those features just come as part of the license fee means you don't have to make decisions as to whether you want to adopt them from a cost point of view. It's just whether it works for you. A bit of advice then. So somebody's just coming on, or they might just be looking at Business Pilot, but or they've already made the decision, but they haven't done their onboarding and so on yet. What would your advice to them be?
I would embrace it. I was a dinosaur, Elton, to be fair, and I felt like I've come through a few generations since still, but it's just it has made a massive difference to my business.
Yeah.
So embrace, go for it, because for the money, I wouldn't say you've got nothing to lose. It will make you save you that money you pay per month, and we haven't touched on the apps actually for the fitters.
No,
again, that is just for us, for me, getting up early in the morning and sending their paperwork via email was just crazy, so I can lay in bed an extra hour in the morning now. So it's a win-win. So, but yeah, we haven't touched on a lot of it that it says, but overall, you got to go for it. Honestly, it will make a big difference.
I don't know if you've done any statistics on the return of investment, but I would imagine it's
huge.
Very rapid.
So what we see, Ray, is there's big differences across the board. So for some people, what they're saying is like using status progression, they're automating emails and so on, and they say, that alone saves me this amount of time, this saves me this amount of time. Fencer integration, not having to go onto the portal anymore, that saves me all this amount of time. So we get a lot of stuff about saving time, but then we'll get some other bits where it's, I found £40,000 of over invoicing where it didn't match with the POs. And so we get like the big number stuff where people say, I found this, which I wouldn't have seen without Business Pilot. And then we get a lot of the other stuff, which is, I'm saving 2 hours every contract, or I'm saving, this every day, or it would be interesting to add some of that up, because it will be far bigger than the kind of 40,000. Or another typical one is we'll have people say it's like having another member of staff. So again, you could say, okay, well, I know what that will cost me per year. I think the return on investment argument is very easy to talk about, but once people are on board, it still comes up as potentially an objection when people are looking at it. They look at the cost, but once they're on board, return on investment's never an issue. People who use Business Pilot know they're making way more back than the license fee.
It's not. I know we I can still remember the conversation when we made the decision to do it, and it was not a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
And I can personally, I know, because I see the numbers, that we have had a very rapid ROI.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, good. Guys, I just wanted that. I mean, I feel like we could carry on forever, actually, but maybe we do an extended version. But I just really wanted, more than anything, for people who are looking at it, they're sort of kind of on the outside, almost just to see what Business Pilot's like, as in what these conversations are like. The fact that we can just we're moving forward together. You know, not everything's going to be perfect, but we're certainly going to give it a go to get as close to perfect as we can, and how open and transparent we will be with that. That's really what I wanted people to be able to watch. So there we go. Unless you guys have got anything else specific, that's been great for me.
Oh, no, that's been good.
No.